Hello, humans, lichens, werewolves, and witches. Welcome to episode 2 of What Happens in the Crypt.
This time around, we're talking about Ginger Snaps, which came out in 2000.
Before we get started, I want you to say this tongue twister for me to get into the mood. You know, you gotta practice those vocal cords. So say it with me. Where were we when we were werewolves?
Am I supposed to say it now?
Yeah.
Where were we when we were werewolves?
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 Thank you.
Yeah.
So, another question. As we were writing this, as, you know, we've watched dozens of werewolf movies, what I was thinking, you know, I'm constantly talking about shaving my head. And my receding hairline. And I was thinking, if I succumb to lycanthropy, will I get my hair back? Or will I be like a naked mole rat but a werewolf?
Oh no. I don't like that at all.
I know, but what do you think?
I don't think that if you get the werewolf disease, it will help your receding hairline.
So you're saying I'm gonna be like the freak in nature werewolf? The half-bald werewolf?
They always have like a tuft of hair on top. It'll just be further back.
So I'm gonna have I'm gonna be a werewolf with a bald head?
Yeah.
Will my ears have hair? No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
Oh, no. All right.
Womp womp.
I gotta be a vampire then.
So for being an emo teen right around when this came out, I'm really surprised that I did not see this. So I saw it for the first time this past week when we watched it, but it's definitely right up my alley for like gothy emo stuff that I was really into at the time.
I thought that you would like this movie. When I asked you if you had seen it, I was so surprised when you hadn't, because it was a movie I had seen before.
Right.
But I hadn't watched it in years, but I know I loved it.
And we even were talking to a friend of mine about this movie, and she said that she used to dress up like Ginger in high school. And I was like, how did I miss out on that whole thing? But this movie is really fun. It has a lot of angst, blood, and rebellion. It's a dang good ride.
Yes, but with saying that, we have to go through our, episodic content warning. So there is mention of suicide and self-harm, and there is extreme gore. So proceed with caution if any of those things are trigger or content warnings for you.
So our synopsis here is Ginger Snaps follows two sisters as they face what they think is puberty when Ginger gets her first period, but later discover her change is not growing pains, but something much more dangerous and evil.
You know, she got more hair. I think I might get a little more hair.
God, just not where you want it.
You're right. I think the idea of linking lycanthropy and female puberty was brilliant. It was very, very smart for the director John Fawcett to find Karen Walton and combine his ideas with hers. Because, if I was going to do a movie about females...
Female puberty
especially.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea. But, it's a cool idea, so I think it was brilliant of him to recruit, a female mind into the story.
Right. It really makes me think of a Reddit page called Men Writing Women, which if you have a chance or if you're on that, it's really fun to look at, which is just dudes writing from the perspective of women, and it's very skewed and not...
it's always...
Not right.
It's always so cringy. Like,
yeah,
guys...
cringy.
We do not know. Just ask. Ask a woman,
exactly.
And she will tell you how it is. Like, you cannot do it. I promise you.
But yeah, this story wouldn't have been the same without the female guidance of Karen Walton being on the team. So Ginger is played by Catherine Isabel, and for me, as soon as we started this movie, I recognized her from an episode of Goosebumps.
I believe that was the very first thing you said, and I was like, really? That's the first?
Yeah.
That's the
movie starts with all of these, like, suicide Polaroids, and I'm like, that's the girl from Goosebumps, but...
And I was like, you have nothing to say about these very gruesome and very metal pictures. But your first thought was Goosebumps.
Yeah, because she fights a sponge from under the kitchen sink.
And I have no idea what that means.
So that's what Goosebumps episode. But she goes through one of the coolest and most well-done physical changes we've seen in a movie. It's really subtle at first, and it's funny when you see her tail for the first time, which I'm super obsessed with the tail. I kept asking Sean how they did it. Like, I'm not very knowledgeable on makeup stuff, so it seems like unreal that they could give a girl in 2000 in a low-budget film a tail that looks so realistic, but it's very cool.
And I could not find any, like, B-roll or behind-the-scenes about it, but my guess is it's either got something mechanical in it, to just a simple piston or some kind of little electronic in it to make it wag, or, honestly, it could have been as simple as it was on a fishing line.
Yeah.
Tied around it, the prosthetic.
It looks really good, though.
It does look good.
And that's one of the other great things about this movie is all of the effects are practical, so there's no CGI at all.
Yeah, and that is what makes the movie still hold up today. Mm-hmm. I really love how instead of, boom, she's a werewolf, it's... You kind of question it at first, because it starts with, oh, a couple strands of hair are gray. And, now, are her teeth bigger, or are they not? I don't really know. And then it's, okay, her nails are longer, definitely. And then it's like, oh no, she definitely has fangs, and is her one eye blue now?
Yeah, it's just not just period cramps.
No. You slowly start to realize it's not period cramps, and it is something more. But it doesn't just, like... It's a, one night teenager, the next night full werewolf. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was a little bit more what stands out a lot more in this is that it doesn't have anything to do with the moon necessarily. She just kind of has a slow transformation over time, which of course they're tying that into like female menstruation and all of that, which is around 30 days too. So it does kind of tie in, but it's not like you see the full moon and then Ginger is suddenly a werewolf.
Yeah, and it's not only physical changes, too, because at first, she thinks she's just a horny teenager.
Right.
And then, I think she literally says...
I get this ache, and I thought it was for sex, but it's to tear everything into fucking pieces.
So Bridget is Ginger's sister, and she's played by Emily Perkins. So she... was the child actor that played Bev in the It series, the made-for-TV one, with Tim Curry, which blew my mind.
Once you notice that, you could not drop it.
You can't unsee it.
No,
she
you
looks
can't unsee it.
Completely different, like, not even recognizable, but as soon as I opened her IMDb page and saw that, I was screaming.
As soon as I saw the picture, I was like, oh my, it is her.
Yeah. But... she does a really great job in this movie, and she also goes under, like, a physical transformation as well. So she starts off being really awkward and shy and, like, the type of emo-type gothy girl that, like, covers her face with her hair. But as the movie progresses and Ginger kind of gets more evil, she's definitely becoming more of a standout and more adult, and she's standing straighter, and you can see her face more and all of that stuff.
Because it's also a mental change as well. She's clearly becoming, she's followed Ginger her whole life.
Right.
And now she has to take charge. She has to be the one to solve the problem. She has to lead.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, for Bridget, her final transformation is really becoming a standalone character and figuring out how to exist without Ginger in the end.
Yeah, becoming her own person.
Mm-hmm.
Which also, outside of a werewolf movie, is an important step for anybody.
Yeah. Exactly. So the two actresses that play Ginger and Bridget, they had some weird know-how with each other as well. That's a weird word to use. Is that fine? Should I say it again?
Yeah, that's all right.
So Bridget and Ginger, Emily and Catherine actually went to the same preschool, the same elementary school, and they worked for the same agency, and they actually auditioned for the movie together at the same time. And they've been quoted as saying after the movie that they actually feel as close and as bonded as actual sisters.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And what I had no idea until after the fact is that Bridget, the actress that plays Bridget, is 4 years older than Ginger.
Right. It doesn't seem like it at all.
Does not seem like that. And, oh yeah, another interesting thing that we found was that Bridget was wearing a wig.
Yeah.
In all the behind-the-scenes videos, she has like a buzz almost.
Yeah, she looks like 11 from Stranger Things.
She does look exactly... She's the original 11.
Yeah, she really is. Somehow she started off as Bev from It, she became 11, and then she became Bridget.
Yep.
So this movie was filmed in Toronto.
And they just... Sorry.
Which happens a lot. The Canadian accents are funny. We're from Detroit, so we run into that a lot in this area.
But you're never ready for the... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, or house.
Roof.
Yeah.
When they mean roof, milk.
Milk.
But they just hit you with a... Oh, sorry.
So there's a lot of sorries.
Sorry.
In this.
Every time they say sorry, sorry.
You do have to say it.
You have to say it. It's just so funny.
Which, bring it back to Goosebumps, all of the Goosebumps were also filmed in Toronto area in Canada, so they all say sorry in them. Another interesting tidbit that happens in this movie is after Ginger becomes infected, she has unprotected sex with Jason, who's played by Jesse Moss.
You horny fool.
Yeah. Anyways, there's this whole scene. But regardless, we find out a little bit later that they did not use any type of protection, and Jason is now infected.
Yeah, when he's... The blood peeing scene as a guy...
Yeah, it's pretty gross. It is interesting, though, that he goes through such different transformation than Ginger. Like, he kind of, like, breaks out in, like, weird acne like hives.
Yeah, it was very strange. But then he still gets the fangs and the...
Right. But that, even like that type of transformation still ties it back to the puberty aspect.
Yeah.
Like, is it just acne or is it symptoms of werewolfism?
And then you find out that he had torn apart his own family dog.
Yeah. There's a lot of dog eating in the movie.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
No pups were actually harmed, though. Mm-hmm. But man, those, like, fake dogs looked really good.
Yeah, they really did.
All the practical effects are very great down to every gory detail. Mm-hmm. This entire movie was shot in 6 weeks. That is crazy for a feature film meant for the box office. To get the movie finished on time, they often had to do 16-hour days. Combined with long makeup times, the crew also went through a rotation of illness.
Yeah, they talk about in some of the behind-the-scenes videos how, like, every week there was a different sickness that passed through the crew. Like, one week they all had bronchitis, and they all had pneumonia, then they all got the flu. It just sounds like horrible conditions.
Well, it was also shot in the winter, and how they're almost always covered in blood.
Yeah, right. So they were drenched all the time.
Yeah, that is crazy. And, I mean, you know, you've seen the movie a couple times with me. Mm-hmm. How much of that movie is shot outside?
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like
a
half.
lot of it.
Yeah, almost half outside.
And, like, Toronto area gets even colder than it does here, and we have some really nasty winters.
Yeah. Another crazy production note is that it was only edited in 8 weeks, which is, that's another insane thing for a film. A feature film would take me months, not... You want to have months, not weeks.
Right. But what's interesting, too, is that it doesn't seem like it.
No.
Like, we didn't know anything about the weird time restrictions and how fast everything came together until we started researching it.
Yeah, this movie actually was nominated for an editing award.
No, I didn't know that. That's cool.
It was. A genie. Don't know what that is, but
a genie.
Still.
So the first thing that they shot for the movie was this beginning, like, suicide Polaroid photo shoot, which both the actresses said that was one of the more fun things that they got to film.
But also one of the hardest.
One of the hardest, yeah, because there is one of the photos where they're actually face down in a pool.
A bathtub.
Or a bathtub.
They're both face down in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And I think Bridget's on her side.
Yeah, and, like, they actually had to, like, leave their mouth open, and that it was kind of like they were actually gagging on water. which yikes.
Yeah.
But the location where they shot this was actually someone's house where there was a small child there. And in between each shot, each time they did a scene for these like Polaroid shoots, the actresses had to walk through the house where this 5-year-old was like camped out in the living room watching Teletubbies. And so they had to have someone walk in and be like, hey kid, you have to leave the room for a second, so that they could walk in covered in blood and guts and whatever else and go rinse off and change into the next like outfit for the next photo.
Yeah, don't forget, with movies, any movie, they can't build neighborhoods. These are real neighborhoods and people live there. So I know they mentioned during production, while they were shooting these suicide photos, people were coming out of their houses to come make sure
Right.
it wasn't real and make sure everybody was okay.
Yeah. So the mom character
She was
in
married.
this... Oh.
She was married to Tom Cruise.
What?
She was married to Tom Cruise.
Weird. The mom, who's one of the best characters in the movie, is played by Mimi Rogers. She's kind of oblivious and only sees what she wants to see. She's really obsessed with like ushering her daughters into womanhood. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's cringy as a woman myself. And
I was
just-
cringing and I...
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yikes. Just thinking about being 15, 16 and your mom being so like obsessed with you getting your period.
And constantly asking you about it, even at the dinner table. Like,
Yeah.
that's all
In
she
front
wants
of
to talk
Dad.
about. In front of Dad.
It's horrible. But she has a really cool turnaround. So she starts off as being really like dopey and super she's easy to write off. She's not very strong in the beginning. But down the line, Ginger murders the bully character.
And then your mom is a ride or die. Let's go, Mom.
So Mom finds the body buried in the shed.
She ain't no snitch.
And after she brings the Tupperware full of fingers to a party where the girls are.
Yeah, she finds fingers and just... Well, actually, the dad finds the fingers.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is fake.
Right.
This isn't real. This is just part of their photos. No, Mom is a real one. She would never rat out her daughters.
But just the thought process that goes into, like, she finds the body, so she's like, these are real fingers, and she wants to shove them in her kids' faces at a party. Like, what is this? Explain it. Like,
Explain these
like
fingies.
the same thing, like if your mom found, like, a joint or, like, a beer can in your room, but
Yeah.
it's a Tupperware of fingers. But Mom tells Bridget in this amazing scene in the car that she's gonna leave their dad, fill the house with gas, and light a match, and they'll
Just
start a new life.
Blow up the house and take off.
It's amazing.
Really, the only strong characters in this entire movie are female.
Right, like the dad is a total doofus.
He's a pushover.
Yeah, we have
He doesn't even really have any lines.
no. And even the mom just at one point's like, just stay in your world, Jerry. I don't know if his name is Jerry, but it's just like
Exactly.
that.
You don't even remember his name.
Right. And you know, even the Sam character who kind of ends up being Bridget's love interest, kind of, the stoner dude, he's also lame and he dies.
Exactly, because he's not really a strong character. He's a supporting
Exactly.
character.
Yeah, the power in these characters really comes from how intensely Ginger is channeling her emotions throughout the movie. She's learning about her sexuality, she's going through a really intense metamorphosis, and she really becomes the focal point, and all of her supporting characters are women as well.
And Bridget really comes into her own as well, though not exactly a full werewolf change.
Exactly.
But yeah, she goes through her own. Yeah. The dad, he's just comic relief.
Yeah, he's a total doofus.
Yeah, Sam is the closest thing to a strong male, and he's not really a strong male. He
Yeah.
knocks Ginger out, which he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, even
Oops, I didn't close the door, sorry.
and also like, oops, I hit her with a shovel
Yeah.
without asking you first.
Yeah.
Like,
So even he's not a strong
Dumb.
character. The reason why I really like this movie is the practical effects. So they were headed by Paul Jones, who has done great work. He's known for Wishmaster, Hellraiser, The Boys, Blade, and even What We Do in the Shadows.
So there's also several fake dog bodies that we talked about a little bit that are ripped apart by the werewolf characters, and they're super good and graphic and gory, and you can definitely read that it's like a vicious werewolf attack while still looking at kind of a pile of mushy fur and blood.
Yeah, and the ginger werewolf is actually, that's real. That's a full-size model that they built. There is no CGI there.
Yeah, and Ginger's transformation makeup, so they did it in phases. So there was like phase 1, she had short nails. Phase 2, they got a little longer. Phase 3, she had one blue eyeball, and kind of built it up that way.
To her full white hair, big
chest piece, whatever that is,
full lisp with the giant fangs.
Teeth. So that final ginger makeup would actually take up to 5 hours to apply, and it took like 2 hours for her to get it off. They also talked about how her nose would run constantly when she had all of the prosthetics on her face, and she actually had to stuff Q-tips up her nose.
Yeah, and
stop the snot.
Yeah, the contacts she had to wear also made it hard for her to see.
Right.
And, as I said, the fangs make it hard for her to talk. So she was...
Yeah, a mess.
I mean, she was a mess, but she still did a great job. So, I mean, kudos to her for that.
Yeah, and in one of the behind-the-scenes videos we watched, the Ginger talks about how they actually struggled a little bit with the continuity between the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, but you really can't tell at all. But it was kind of funny to hear her talk about how she would talk to the makeup artist about, are we on stage 2 nails and stage 3 fangs today, or where are we at with those?
Yeah, I know some of the scenes had to be shot, some of the scenes that were supposed to take place during the day had to take place at night, just for time reasons, just because due to long days and long makeup times, those actresses were only getting like 3 hours of sleep some nights.
Yeah, it sounds horrible. So the first movie didn't really leave a lot of room for any sequels, but they made 2 anyways. Really,
they could not be stopped.
Yeah, really just watch the first one. It really has a perfect ending. I don't even feel like we need to spoil that. But there are 2 sequels. So the second one follows Bridget after everything that happens in the first one takes place. And the third one is the same plot as the first one, but in the 1800s.
Yeah, so the second movie, I think, had promise. Like, it had cool ideas. It just didn't... I feel like the ending was the weakest part. And
yeah,
a lot of the characters didn't make sense.
Right. The second movie ended on a very clear cliffhanger that they didn't address at all in the third one.
No.
And they went the other direction. So it was kind of weird. But I think none of them expected how big the first movie got and how successful it was. And they were like, oh shit, we've got to make more of these. And they did what they did.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like they could have done more. Like, so in the second movie, Bridget is being tracked by a werewolf that
wants to mate with her.
But that's only, like, she kind of just briefly mentions that in passing
right
in the end, and you're like, wait, why? And also, who is it?
Yeah.
Bigger question, is it Jason from the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a different werewolf? Like, could we find out?
It is not clear.
No. And then we got little Pyro
Ghost.
Oh yeah, her name is literally Ghost. And she's confusing.
Yeah. So I guess like a quick thing about the premise of the second one is it is pretty cool that there's a girl whose name is Ghost and she makes comics about werewolves, and she ends up in cahoots with Bridget, who gets infected at the end of the first movie. But beyond that, it kind of falls short. It's worth watching, I guess, but it's not amazing.
I don't even know because of the end if it's worth it. Because it ends on a cliffhanger that never gets explained. I think you only need to watch the first one because it wraps up the story.
The first one's all you need.
The first one's all you need.
Mm-hmm. So in the very beginning of the movie, Ginger and Bridget talk about their kind of blood pact that they did. as sisters and together forever, that type of thing. And it's really cool that they reprise that at the end of the movie when Ginger is really full werewolf, or almost full werewolf, in Bridget, in an attempt to, I think, kind of humanize her and keep her together with her. She ends up infecting herself, and they do that same cutting of the hand, blood together, hand holding pact.
Yeah, and originally they made that pact when they were 8?
8, I think.
Yeah. A new thing we wanted to add for this episode is to count how many victims are slain. For this episode, we'll call it Puppy Chow.
Obviously.
Got to.
So, including dogs, there are 6 wonderfully gory deaths in this movie. Blood and guts galore.
Literally walls sprayed with blood and organs.
So this makes our lovely werewolf Ginger a serial killer.
Yep. Even just humans alone. Still technically a serial killer.
Yeah, she's full of it.
And covered in it.
So all of the movies are available to watch on Tubi, but like we said previously, really just watch the first one. Don't even worry about the sequels.
If you need more, hey, at least they're free on here.
Yeah. And then all of the rehearsal videos that we watched and most of the behind-the-scenes content came from various YouTube pages as well.
Yeah, it's not that hard to find. You just gotta, if you got an evening.
Yeah. There's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there. For next time, grab your cotton candy and your popcorn.
Because we're going to discuss killer clowns from outer space. So before we leave you, we did want to take a chance and let you know if you're listening to this with anyone and want to hold hands with them and recite these words with us, you can. Out by 16 or dead in the scene, but together forever, united against life as we know it.